This is Judge Rusty Johnston with Armed Alabama Radio, giving you some tips on how to search for Alabama law and federal law regarding where you can carry or can't carry your firearm, and also defenses when you can use deadly force. First thing you want to do is to go to Google or your favorite search engine and type in Code of Alabama 1975. Click that, and it will take you to the code. Now, these are all contained in Title 13A, Criminal Code. It would be worth your while to look first at Chapter 3, Defenses, and it's always a crime to shoot someone. You may have a defense, which means you can't be prosecuted for it, and you're not guilty of it, because you use one of the defenses called a justification and excuse, which the first of these, or one of the first, is use of force in defense of a person. I'll read that. Remember, there's two types of force mentioned. There's physical force, which might be shoving, physically removing someone, and deadly physical force. If you're talking about using a gun, it's deadly physical force. Then you might look at use of force in defense of premises. Now, where you can and can't carry a firearm. You want to go, it's also in 13A, down to Chapter 11. And this comes up a good bit that is actually, 13A 1161.2. And it lists the various places where you cannot carry your firearm in Alabama, even if you have a permit. Now, remember, if you go to Louisiana or Texas or whatever, you have to abide by their firearms laws. And it says, for instance, inside a police station, highway patrol station, etc. But look down here at B. It says you cannot carry a firearm, even if you have a permit, if a premises, let's say mall, store, business, has the continuous posting of guards and or the use of other security features, including but not limited to magnetometers, card keys, biometric screening devices, turnstiles, or other physical barriers. For instance, Bel Air Mall or Waffle House always has a no firearms sign. That's not provided for in the code. You can carry it if you want to. I would certainly carry it concealed unless you want to make a point. Would a business, for example, that this would apply to, assuming they operate the same way as they did the last time I was there a couple of years ago, would be the Battle House, building complex or office complex, not the hotel, the office complex. Before you can go in there, you have to sign in. There are guards there, and one of them has to call up. And if you just walked in, you'd have to have a card key. So they meet the provisions of B down there. It'd be worth reviewing all of these. Now, under federal firearms, we know you can't carry it past a TSA screening station in the airport. They take the position, really, you can't carry it on any federal property. Of course, federal property is our property. But if you want kind of a update, type in federal firearms laws. Second one here. Now, it's 2014. The only sure changes I know to this are the bump fire stock ban, which makes the possession of a bump fire stock, such as a slide fire stock, just like the penalty for possession of a full automatic weapon. You can also go to this one. This one's a little misleading. I've done a revision to it, which I'll try to put up. You can download it. Don't be afraid to look these up on your own and get familiar with them. And I'll show you one more. What you want to do is type in handgunlaw.us. And for instance, first you can go to states honoring my license. That's reciprocity. You can look at all the states. It's probably, 30 that honor Alabama's license there. Remember, you've got to go by the laws of that state when you're visiting. Let's say, for instance, you want to go to Louisiana. that has the laws of Louisiana, which are a little strange, basically, because in Louisiana, you can carry, if you're a resident, you can carry a firearm in your car without a license, and you're not governed by some of the provisions in the Louisiana Code where it says a licensee must notify the police, for instance, when he stopped. I think that's in there. That's one thing when you're traveling, you really want to make sure you do check and see where you have to notify law enforcement upon stop. Here's Alabama's law. It's a good summary. It's a little shaky on the no firearm signs. As to carrying a firearm in your car, you have to have a permit in this state. If you're stopped by law enforcement, and if the firearm is in a place where it can be seen from the outside of the car, or you're going to have to access it during your stop, such as a compartment where you keep insurance papers, make sure that you tell the police officer. If it's in a place where it's never going to be accessed or seen, you're under no obligation to do that. This is Judge Rusty Johnston for Armed Alabama Radio.